Rob in Long Island. It's been a while since we talked. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, Mr. Boone, Mr. Murphy?
Hello.
Marvelously. Sorry for that little, I think it was a playful statement from Eric earlier, but...
Was I wrong, though?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay, never mind. He made some comment like, wow, maybe this is blowing Rob's mind, or something like that. Because he was saying something.
I understand. You have ringers. It's an old term. It's for people who are, let's say, are very educated and are in high levels of position that call your show. You have no bio on EF, and you really don't know what he's written, where he's studied, what he does for a living. A lot of your callers, you don't have much information at all.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Having studied philosophy myself and know the interior of the philosophical debate with Socrates and other greats, I understand the context. And I felt, he was slamming you, but he pays attention. He pays attention to the show. He's also listened to you slam people of, let's say, not as knowledgeable in the language of sociology. So pretty much he was giving you a taste of your own medicine.
I think
was this on an episode that I was on?
Just to be clear, Rob, when you're saying slamming, you mean you're referring to like the I think aggressive is a strong word, but the aggressive way of speaking.
Do you think that makes you more correct when you yell at somebody and accuse them of being rude?
I don't think he was addressing whether or not he was arguing better, right?
Where did Socrates say that yelling and name-calling is a good idea? Maybe I missed that one.
I didn't hear him call you a name. I just...
Oh, really?
I did.
Here, let me jump in here, because I think there might have been a miscommunication. So, Rob, just to clarify, when you're saying you've seen EF slam us and you've seen us slam other people, can you clarify just a little bit by what you mean by slam? Because it has multiple definitions in this context, as well as one which is sexual.
No, take sex out of it.
I often
intellectually.
Do. Okay.
Intellectually, if somebody's speaking on let's say a common dialect, and make an inference to something, and then you use a term that you would think that they are not aware of or what it means, and you use it to confuse them, then you're intellectually slamming them.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
So you think that if you can use big words to confuse somebody, you're intellectually slamming them?
I think that's...
if one person sees another person bullying another person, then he took sides. I felt, when I was listening and I heard his reactions and how he was talking, I felt he'd been paying attention to the show, and he just, did what he felt you guys had done to other
there's
people.
A little bit of... So 2 points here, Rob. There's a little bit of context that I think that we might have that we haven't talked about on the show, which is that EF is not a caller exclusive to our show, right? He engages in discussions about this specific topic, basically in as many places as he can, not just in ACA shows, although he's called the Atheist Experience in other places before, but he goes on Discord and has these different discussions. And so he didn't change his sort of playbook when he came onto our show, if that helps at all. That is the way that he engages with people everywhere he goes.
Understanding the interior world of philosophy and how it works, the internal debate is how it developed. And when you're learning it in universities, if you are that adept at philosophy, you will take in the philosopher that you're debating with. And it's a long time ago thing, but I remember it.
Rob. All
right.
If the loudest person is the one that everyone chooses is correct, then everyone there is not using logic very well. If you're in a philosophy class and the philosophy is the loudest person wins, that is not good.
I was apologizing for him. I didn't say it was correct. I was giving an example of possibly why his management of the situation might have been off a little bit.
I personally think that if I were a psychologist, I may feel comfortable diagnosing narcissism, but because I'm not, I won't. Rob, what would you like to talk about?
Well, as you know, I'm the theist that spreads the good news of the kingdom of heaven on earth, kingdom come. I ask all listeners that an important part of
Rob,
the
you're
Bible
talking
is,
to Jamie and I. Can you please phrase your questions to the host?
Okay, well, you guys don't believe in the miracles. I got to make a...
No, because you actually have to show that any of those miracles happen, silly.
Well, yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?
It is.
All right, we'll start. All right, I'll go into what we're going for. Let's see. The Holy Bible is proof of critical thinking.
How so?
Counterpoint, atheism is a false philosophy with unsupported scientific analysis.
You just said two things. Which one do you want to talk about?
Okay,
First.
we'll start with the Bible.
Let's start with the Bible.
Okay.
That's fine. So you said that the Bible is proof of critical thinking.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Okay, I referred to our old tapes, our old discussions, and the last one we had was with a woman on the show, and I explained, because the previous show before that, the punishment for certain crimes in the Old Testament, I explained weren't punished, the punishment was worth the crimes, but what the symbolism was that it was actually a label that these things went against our genetic predisposition, our genetic makeup. And most of them were sexuality crimes, but you can expand on that. You can bring it into the...
Hold on. Are you morally justifying the abuse that the church has made towards homosexuals?
No, I'm not.
Okay, then please elaborate in that direction, because you just said something incredibly offensive.
First of all, I'm going to state that the word moral is only mentioned once in the entire Bible.
I'm not talking to the Bible. I'm talking to Rob in Long Island.
Well, I'm trying to explain that all the things in the Bible that are prohibitive, that are said not to be done, is part of our genetic disposition.
Really? Are we genetically disposed to commit genocide?
You always bring that up, and the only thing I can say is, like I've always had, at that time, in that region, it was self-defense.
No, it's not self-defense when you go into someone else's country and slaughter them. That is not self-defense.
That's war.
Yes, it is.
It is war. And when you kill all the people, you've ended that war with genocide.
Yeah, if you completely kill an entire people, as Jamie said, that is definitionally genocide. And I don't know why it's so bad when I keep bringing that up. It's like asking somebody about the Holocaust. Yeah. Oh my gosh, are you done talking about Really?
Yeah, we're
not done talking about it. We're never going to be done talking about it. Right? It's fucking terrible.
The Holocaust was genocide.
Yes.
I agree.
Oh, look at that. We agree. Yeah, high five.
Yes. High five to you as well, Rob. Bam.
Good job.
Okay. That was not sarcasm.
But we're talking about
attempted
a different
genocide
scenario. We're talking about a different group of tribes that were run by heathenistic leaders that would not allow even each tribe to exist.
How do you know this, Rob?
War in the Middle of East.
How do you know this?
It is written.
No, it's not. I read the Bible.
Yes,
Point out the verse. Point out the verse that tells me.
History.
No, it's not written in history. There are so many things that are not in the Bible about history, and there are so many things in the Bible that cannot be historically proven or shown to have actually happened.
And there's things in the Bible that have historically been shown to be
Egypt
false.
described slavery. The Romans described slavery.
We're not talking about slavery. We're talking about genocide, Rob.
Just to be very clear, that there have been wars in the region called the Middle East, and that at the present moment they happen all the time, blah, blah, blah. Sure, I'm there with you. Are you saying that there's a historical record that describes constant war between the Canaanites and the Amalekites and the ancient Hebrews?
Yes.
Okay.
There's tons of it.
Where can I find that?
Then you have to go on to the interior of each civilization.
How do you know about the interior of those civilizations? Rob, I can point to you a small town, and I can justify to you how not everyone in that town believes all of the same things. right? We're talking about slaughtering not just every, combat, aged male. We're talking about slaughtering the wives, the children, every beast of the field. Mm-hmm. Rob, what did the cows do?
Not a clue.
Were they heathenistic?
We're gonna have to stay.
Were they oppressing the other cows and the other tribes?
Not a clue. I
agree.
In a couple of weeks, why they killed the cows, I don't know.
That's wonderful. I love it.
But we have to stick to the topic here. What is our genetic makeup, and how does it tie to the laws that were handed down to Moses?
Actually, we are talking about the laws of Moses, and I believe that you've said that they relate to our genetic makeup. So I actually have a question about that, because that is not something contained within the Jewish tradition or the Christian tradition or even references from imams in the Islamic tradition. I don't see any scholars anywhere talking about how laws, the messianic law, relates specifically to genetics. So I'm wondering why it is that we're departing from these were laws, if you believe that they were prescribed by God, or either, they, at very least, someone was saying at the time that they were, instructions from a God on the way that people should behave. Why are we departing from that and going to the field of genetics?
Because it is in the 21st century that atheism is actually using science to depart on the grounds that morality of the Bible was not coherent and would have been naturally occurred.
Rob, ask me if I take that position.
Do you?
No, I departed from the Bible because I did not have sufficient evidence to prove that the religion was true, or that God existed, specific to the church that I went to. Right. And so me leaving because I didn't think that the God that I learned about in church was true. Right. I didn't appeal to, genetics to get there. I didn't have to study genetics to make a position about atheism or theism in general. So please, how did you get there?
How did I get there? Because fundamentally, as the Bible is called the living book of God. And since our debate between, let's say, Christianity, Judaism, and every major religion in the world that has a belief in a higher power, and the word morality, which you've chosen to, whose morality is this? I don't go on to secular sexuality.
Which is a great show.
A lot of the problems
every Thursday
that we have, a lot of the problems which are the interior of society right now, because this is the continent of the United States, which we have suicide, mass drug addiction, high divorce rates, children, mental illness, mass shootings.
Rob,
wait, hold on.
What we're saying is now that the attention is that your group is brought on, that these are the morality that the Bible prescribes for survival.
Okay, hold on. We're stopping for just a second, Rob.
So even before we address the meat of that, just very quickly.
You didn't answer my question.
But even before we get to that, you were listing problems that society has, and in that list was children. Was there supposed to be an adjective next to that? Never mind.
Let's put a pin in that.
It's not
really
substantial.
Quick.
To answer this question.
You had said all atheists believe blank. Yeah. I just told you why I am an atheist, how I became an atheist, and it did not involve blank. So I'm asking you to revisit your statement.
Okay. From my understanding is, for some reason, you have a depression going on in your life. And I don't mean to call you out personally, but...
No, I have clinical depression. I've talked about it. Absolutely.
Now, from the take of leaving your religion...
Oh, do this.
If you felt some kind of freedom in secular sexuality, you've already brought on your depression. You've caused your own problem.
Rob?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to come from a very empathetic place, right? So here's me coming from an empathetic place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had depression as a Christian and a Bible-believing Christian. One who read the Bible, one who believed it much more than you do. How do I know that? Because you've talked about things that are extra biblical, that are not supported. And so I can tell you that I believed it much more directly than you. And I will tell you that my clinical diagnosis has nothing to do with how I felt when I left religion. In fact, you know, when it comes to that, the shame, the absolute shame from fucked up ideas like what you just said, when I left religion, I was free, Rob. I was free. And so to say that leaving religion is what caused it, it's the other way around, man. When you leave a system that systematically oppresses everyone but one tiny group, right? Why would you think that causes depression? And secular sexuality, dude, you're talking to the wrong end of the table, man. I'm hetero. The gay one's on the other side of the table.
For a second, I thought you were going to say, I haven't had sex in a year, and I was like, okay.
Are you abstinent or are you a self-pleasurer? Can I put it that way on the table?
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so hold on.
Are you?
Do you think that me touching myself makes me depressed?
Yes, it does.
Oh, Rob, that's the problem. Dude, go jack off. It feels so much better.
Problem. Now we come. I didn't want to go right into it, but yeah, you've got a problem.
Like and subscribe.
Absolutely.
You're damaging your physiology. You are separating yourself from woman, and if you want to go into evolution, our man and woman would never survive. What you're talking about up until 100 years ago was looked down on. Any guy, if you walked up to a kid on the street and told him what they did 100 years ago, said, why would you do that? Wouldn't you rather sleep with a woman? Now,
yeah.
I knew it. It was like it came out of the sky and told me.
Okay.
Rob.
There's not a...
What you did is you gave yourself a psychological disability through a physiology, and then you thought it was an immoral thing because you were
I love
Christian.
This.
Yes, you gave yourself your own depression from self-abuse, they call it, jerking off.
Oh, Rob, you have given me a gift. You have given me a gift. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You sad little man. Oh my goodness.
Man.
If you are preventing yourself from looking and trying to be sexually fulfilled, that is just, oh my gosh, dude, I really hope that you can work your way out of this, because that's, oh my goodness, that's rough.
That has already been proved. I mean, you don't understand. You have gone outside the bounds of physiology.
Really? Hold on a second. I've got two hands and a working dick. Does that mean that I'm outside of the bounds of physiology to be able to use those things?
To take pills. You'd rather accept the fact that that what you're doing isn't psychologically or physiology going against human nature.
Okay, let's hold on. Let's explore this. Let's explore this, right? You buy a car, right? Do you own a car? Have you ever owned a car, Rob?
Go on, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
For example,
yes. Sure. For example, Rob, you own a car. You bought your car from the lot, and it seemed to work great, didn't it? Now it's been a couple years, and it's got a ticking in the hood. You know, something's going on, right? Mm-hmm. If you said, I'm going to bring that car to a mechanic, and I said, how dare you? Right? That is against the way you bought it from the Toyota dealership or the Honda dealership or whatever car dealership you bought it from, because it's supposed to work exactly that way. You're not supposed to do maintenance on yourself. What if you got the flu, Rob? What if you got sick, you wanted to go to the doctor, you needed to go to the hospital, right? You needed to maintain yourself and take better care of yourself. And I said, no. It is absolutely against what is supposed to be happening with your body. You're not supposed to maintain, take care, or better yourself. No. That just doesn't work. Can I say that about going to the gym? Maybe, you know, how dare I actually get in better shape, because that's just kind of against my physiology.
The term that has been given for what masturbation causes is complex anxiety syndrome.
Did you wait your turn to talk, or did you hear anything that I just said, Rob?
No, irrational answers. Your car, we're not cars. Cars don't reproduce. You don't have to park a car next to another car to make it happy. Being sick, having the flu.
Rob, I think
statements. So
yes. So allow me to tie these two things together, Rob, really quickly for you. So at one point in the response, immediately before what Eric was saying, you said, "Oh, you're doing this. You would rather take a pill, etc." I think what Eric was responding to was the idea that a person would say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't see a psychologist," or "Oh, you shouldn't see a psychiatrist," or "Oh, you shouldn't treat mental illness." The answer is you should. You should treat mental illness in the same way that you treat any other kind of illness or physiological problem. And I don't know whether or not that's a point of agreement we can reach.
Yeah, I understand. The word psychologist, when he started talking but started bringing up cars, did pop into my head. That's where he was going to go.
Yeah.
And then we must go to, what was that book called? Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex, written by the two freak show doctors in the 1970s.
Rob, do you like using that kind of terminology? Does that make you feel better when you call people things like that?
My peers get upset with the way I talk, of course.
Okay.
But that's why. But there's a reason I talk this way, because it's a down-to-earth language.
No, it's not down to earth. It's bigoted. Do you like being bigoted? Do you like when people think you're bigoted? But actually, no. Let's actually zoom back just a little bit, Rob.
Story. Listen, I know their story. You got to understand. First of all, the wife.
Oh God.
Mrs. Johnson. After the divorce, she wrote in her memoirs, her and her husband didn't have a love life.
Rob,
second of all,
holy shit, dude. Are you basing all of your knowledge of psychology based on one book?
No, plenty of psychology out there, but psychology is actually under a lot of attack right now.
From dipshits like you.
Listen,
honestly, no. The truth will out. The DSM will continue to get better because we use a methodology to try to understand the world better. It's not the DSM-1, it's the DSM-5, because we've gone through 5 iterations the better we know about the world. But I absolutely love that people like you are going to continue to push scientists, right, are going to continue to push psychologists to understand the human mind better.
Psychology. There's no science proven. There's no proven science behind psychology.
And that's when I say
the phrase "proven science" kind of demonstrates that you're at the very least not using clinical language or the language that would appear in any.
Honestly, I'd say open a book, but I think he opened a book, and maybe you should open another.
What is if you go into what is narcissism?
Narcissism.
Basically, you talk about my language. Narcissism is just basically talking behind somebody's back, picking up all the worst details of them and exploiting them. Psychology is not, it's a one-sided system where a person who has a problem in life is given the experience of putting themselves above other people in an unnatural way. If you want to return to masturbation,
I'm always down to return to masturbation.
Your own physiology.
Let me just clarify very quickly. When you're saying psychology is the process of one person who has a problem in life putting themselves unnaturally above others, are you talking about the patient or the clinician?
The patient. I'm talking about the process that psychologists use to have a patient overcome. And we're not talking about trauma. Trauma is a different story. People that were abused as children and that. We're talking about people with a little bit of inferiority complex.
Oh, man. We're talking to Freud.
About being able to talk up. Listen, I've met
Rob,
enough to know.
You have obviously not met enough to know very much, but I really want you to know. Honestly, at this point, I think you're a joke. I think you're an honest joke, Rob. I think you honestly mean it. Hold on a second. I think you honestly mean what you're saying. And I'm actually happy that you've called in. Hold on, Rob. I think you've honestly called in to say what and he's on hold. Rob, I think that you honestly believe what you're saying. And I'm glad you called in. Because I've talked to atheists who still feel weird or funky about psychology. And it's actually really important. And this is a holdover from a different kind of thinking. I'd love for people to take a look at this, get a really good look, and ask yourself, how come you haven't gone to take care of yourself? That's really important, Rob, and I'm really glad you brought it up. And I'm really glad that people like you exist to be able to be a good counterpoint to that very, very relevant, important fact. You're back on. Go ahead. Hi.
Hey, Rob, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Hey.
sorry for a second. It
Doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me.
I'm
glad to hear that.
Bullish. It does sound bullish, but when you see, I'm talking to him in empathy also. If he's telling me he goes home and crawls under his covers, if he can't stand the sight of life sometimes, I'm talking to him with empathy, and that's the only reason I call this show.
Rob, that's
Not
very,
to bully
very
people
sweet.
around.
No.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that you
It's
believe
not.
it. I know. I know. And I think that you're using the best tools that you have available to try and reach out. And unfortunately, those tools that you're using are detrimental, are not very good tools. And so the goal of this show is to try and help
How is it
people
detrimental?
understand. How is it detrimental?
Yeah.
Sure. So if somebody needs to be medicated for an actual mental illness, and you say that psychology is, you know,
there's no science behind it. There's no proven science behind it.
then
etc.
what you could do.
Psychiatry, go on, different. Yeah.
Okay.
If I give you the answer why your depression is existing and has become chronic, gets chronic, why would you ignore that? If I explain to you it's within your DNA not to do with that.
So
And I'm
to
not
be clear,
saying I'm not saying it's morally wrong. Like I said, the word moral is not used in the Bible.
I don't care about the Bible. I'm
Yeah,
talking about you, Rob.
Right.
well, he's
Not
basing his
talking about morality.
conclusions
Talking about
on
human
messianic
physiology.
law, evidently, which
But
which
We're
doesn't.
talking about your
He's trying to
man
tie it
and
back.
Woman's human. That's all I'm saying. It's man and woman's human physiology
Yeah.
not to participate.
Just to be very clear, where in the Bible does it refer to masturbation?
Onan.
Oh,
Onan.
no,
Yeah.
onan refers to pulling out. That was
Well-
sex with another
Well,
person.
that was the only one. There's not really much. Yes, that's it. Onan.
I mean, to be clear, that's a better argument for don't quit until you're both finished than anything else, which I think is actually a much better message.
Well, and if you actually follow the story, he was fucking his recently dead brother's wife.
yeah, so that
I mean, I
she
would
could have a
honestly
child.
say, yeah, don't fuck your brother's wife.
Well,
I think that's probably a better lesson than.
So in
Well, better than fucking him when he's alive, right? That's also not doable in the Bible because it would mess up your
That's-
physiology. All these things, lying messes up your physiology. Stealing messes up your. We're made that way. It is built into us. And the reason I can honestly say this is because the word is repeat offenders. So we
those
must
are.
change.
Are you referring
repeat
to
offenders.
human
Okay.
laws?
Yeah.
Rob,
Repeat offenders.
I love it. Let's make a graph. Let's detail this out and have you call back.
Yeah.
We've got a couple other callers on the
Yeah.
line.
You're gonna
I
have
appreciate
some
you calling from a place of
information.
empathy, but I.
Please call again
Yeah.
because I absolutely don't want this conversation to end.
Oh my goodness!
Here.
Honestly,
We're gonna
dude.
have to come. Listen, it's science. Listen, it's scientific. We're not talking about morality. We're talking about scientific, the process of how the human body works, how it has survived for thousands of years.
I honestly think that
And
if
what-
science was a
and
person, it would roll over
when-
in its grave.
When
at that.
popularity overcomes common sense and knowledge disappears, then social structures break down,
Okay.
and you have to pop
think-
pills to overcome it.
Okay.
And
I think
We're
Rob,
done.
empathy.
yeah, Rob.
Okay.
I think can we
Bye,
get you to
Rob.
call back in future?
Uh,
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Oh my
it was
God.
taking a long time to kind of
That's
trail
just it's that type of, I'm going to use the word argument here only because it is technically correct, argument. His summary that is the entire motivation for why I engage at all with
and-
epistemology at all, because that level of loose thinking applied to any subject.
Oh, dude, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
There's
and
an
I will cut off
entire
the comments.
20-minute video
Yeah.
to be made just about the last I think it may have been 2 sentences or 3, depending on whether or not you use a semicolon that he said.
No, it's beautiful. I know.
Yeah.
It's a babushka
I'm gonna make
doll
it.
of crazy.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna. That's it.
fractally wrong.
I'm done. I'm gonna respond to that.
It's amazing.
It's fucking everywhere.
And to cut people off from saying it, why did we let him call in? Because we take
There's
theist callers,
so
and
much value there.
he called. We have one other theist caller on the line. We're going to talk to him right now. But
William
after that,
Lane Craig to call.
we
We
don't
would take his call.
And
as well.
so I've gotten messages. Why do you always pick people like Rob to represent Christianity? Because he's the only one that calls. If you want to call in and you have a better thing to talk about, or if you have a better style of argumentation, please, I'd rather talk to you.
To be clear, if I was feeling quippy and
we've got
aggressive,
Rob.
which I kind of am at the moment, I'd be like, why don't you call in to represent Christianity?
Well,
Punk, make my day.